Brian Moran, founder of Government CIO. Welcome to Government CIO Magazine.
Hi, this is Olivia Ung with Government CIO Magazine, and today we'll be chatting with Greg Godbout, Executive Director of 18F.
Uh, 18F is a fee-for-service consultancy, if that's a good way to describe it, inside the GSA. So like all the other offices, we're here to sort of serve agencies and their missions and needs. What sets it apart is sort of from our beginnings, there's a group of us that came from the Presidential Innovation Fellows program, and that spirit, the setup of 18F was really targeted towards being the tip of the spear. So how do we actually transform the way the federal government builds and buys IT? So instead of just providing services, every service we provide comes along with it a cause, and that cause is do user-centered design and agile development methodologies inside the federal government. The executive director of 18F is probably a little different than maybe most people in the government are used to what an executive of a program would be. In many ways, I'm a caretaker of the program. We hire so many people that are mission driven, and we allow for a lot of autonomy, especially by government standards, within the team for people to lead projects and make decisions for their projects. So it's not as much of a hierarchical position as it is a caretaker to sort of keep everybody together and coalesce. So it's probably more of a leadership position than it is management, right? It's not your classic management scenario. I think any hub is really about the people. So in most all things, it always starts with the people. So what we did well from the beginning was hire the right talent, the right people. These were the people who were connected and respected in the field of what I would call civic hacking, right? This idea of using technology to push forward the improvements in government services. And by bringing those people in, we created a magnet, if you will, for more people to come to them. And so that continues, and it continues to spiral out. And sometimes it's people working with us, actually becoming employees. Sometimes it's vendors or companies that maybe come in and work alongside of us. A lot of times it's just sort of open and transparent, telling everybody how we're working. And increasingly, we're having more and more people swing by, and sort of other federal employees across government bring their teams by and work with us for a day. And it's not really with us, it's sort of next to us and talking about the work that everybody does. So, the hub is really about a network of people, and it's using sort of social engineering to sort of pull everybody together and learn one-on-one from each other. Well, I think our initial existence was the adopting of best practices, and so I would look at things the biggest one being user-centered design versus stakeholder-centered design, and agile methodologies versus waterfall methodologies. We believe strongly in the practice, if you're going to do rapid deployment and continuous deployment, having DevOps teams. If the question was more of a future type of thing, I could see as business analytics is becoming very popular in the commercial world. I think that's on its way. You can see the federal government sort of picking up its big data capabilities, and what naturally comes after that is what kind of analytics do you do that to get some reading. So I'd say probably analytics is the future one, and our existing ones are the current things we're striving for. Yeah, 18F in its current state, without Agile, we sort of don't exist. It is in everything we do. There's nothing we go after that we don't use an iterative process. I might describe it as Agile or Lean, using Lean startup methodologies. you can really sometimes use both words to describe the same thing. I think the key is, what's nice about Lean is it sort of gives that impression we're building a program here, we're building, this is like we operate as a business inside the federal government, and we're very much interested in what our users and customers think. And so in the classic sort of Lean startup methodologies, we like to start with an MVP, but we also, before we do that, are engaging the actual users of the systems to do that. So it is in everything we do. So it's like we don't use waterfall processes to, for example, when we go about building a procurement vehicle, we don't use a waterfall process to build that procurement vehicle. We insist that the process that it builds that procurement vehicle is Lean or Agile itself. So it's like when we work with finance and we work with hiring, we insist that everybody adopt the Agile way to be more in sync and aligned with us. I think that I would categorize those. So there's a number of software, like digital service deliveries that we've done, both big and small. So working on like MyRA is a good example of a landing page. It's a new design inside the federal government. I think from a data visualization standpoint, I would look at extractive industries, transparency initiative, EITI as we call it, that's been for Department of Interior. And I think for big, massive, like classic sort of legacy federal systems and redoing them in an agile, modular way, USCIS, so U.S. Citizens and Immigration Services. All of these areas, the reason I mention a bunch of them is we sort of are in this position where it's not just, sometimes people think you do agile work on one specific type of project. In our case, you do it in a bunch of different areas, even in projects like business analytics on big data type things. I think 6 months from now, we will be perfecting our scaling mechanism. We have done many things that have created really a very powerful organization, but we're small. I mean, including the Presidential Innovation Fellows program, we're now just about 110 people, and that's great. It's been a very fast period of growth. To have more effect, we need to grow that. We need to scale that and work closer with our agencies. So I think in 6 months, you see more of a scaling mechanism. And the next one was 12 months. So, and I think in 12 months, what you'll see is a deeper integration with our agency partners. More of our agency partners starting to bring on similar like teams and us working in tandem with them to either augment their services or to do something maybe like infrastructure as a service to help support their delivery team. I think you'll see a lot more of that. And then in 18 months, I think you'll see a more mature sort of acquisitions aspect to this, where vendors are now participating in a very heavy format in helping us scale this as well. And you'll see vendors hiring in the DC area, hiring the same types of talent that we have on 18F, because I think that's where you really see this begin to lift off. My personal goals are aligned with 18F goals. I think that it hasn't changed. We're here to transform the way the federal government builds and buys IT services. And that's to make the best decisions possible with our clients who are agencies, really for the American people or citizens, or in the case of USCIS, people who desire to be a citizen. So the businesses and people interacting with government, I would like for that process to be as simple as how we go online to look at a restaurant we're going to eat at, or how we make decisions about plumbers we're going to hire, like that type of digital service that's so easy that we take for granted these days. I'd like to see the federal government be that easy too. In a perfect world, 18F wouldn't be needed. So it's a very difficult question to answer. I think in a perfect environment inside government would be. I think there's so many people in government who are holding on to their habits, and frequently, I'll say this a lot, they think their habits are law, and they hold on very deeply like this is the law, but really it's just something that the process they've been doing regularly. It would be easier if people were more encouraged to take small risks and be more open to changing and iterating. I mean, that's what we're here to do, is really get people to look at their business processes, their digital services, take a whole look at the whole thing and say, let's constantly iterate these things instead of sort of landing on one and doing it permanently that way. No, I think that I will say this: if if there are people in government right now and they're doing innovations, I would ask that whatever their outcomes are, no matter what the project is, when they leave, I like to think of leave a footprint behind. So if you would leave a footprint behind, improve a process, right? Don't just deliver something, but improve a process permanently and get into the habit of iteratively always change. Nothing's ever finished, so there's no business process that should ever be finished. Always tinker with it, always try to keep it improving. And if you do that with software and you do that with business processes, it won't be too long before we see a tremendous production and productivity increase out of the federal government.